Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Language of Leadership. I'm your host, Chuck Marting. And in this week's episode, I want to address a topic that's been coming up quite a bit in emails and with other listeners asking how you deal with this particular subject. And what is that subject? It's navigating the social media tightrope. In this ever evolving landscape of leadership, the integration of social media into our professional relationships has become both an opportunity and a very real challenge for leaders. Now, as leaders, now more than ever, we find ourselves at a crossroads of having to decide on how to balance both personal connections with the potential risks that are associated with social media interactions. There's many stories in the media that talk about how employers have monitored people and how teams have reacted. And for that reason, I felt that this was a topic that we should probably discuss and try and give some clarity on how to best handle and to deal with it. My reason for addressing this is in this week's episode of the podcast, I want to provide you as the leader with a strategic plan so that you can effectively address these challenges. It's going to be a fostering thing within the workplace. Every one of our workplaces is an environment where we need to protect both ourselves as a leader, but also that of our business. So there are several things that we need to do when we're taking into consideration social media. And part of that is in understanding the shift in social media dynamics and what's happening right now. In recent years, the professional landscape, it has witnessed this significant shift in the use of social media platforms. A lot of that we realized during COVID when people were having to work from home. And then a lot of people were introduced to things such as, Zoom meetings, a whole plethora of different media types that you could get on and interact with each other. That was a big introduction for a lot of people within the workplace on the effectiveness of this tool, but it also led to other things as well. Now, we had an individual in a workplace that ended up calling my business because of an individual who was using substances in their home, but doing it while they were in a company meeting. And they had to determine whether or not they were needing to act on this because they were just in that spot of, is this something that we can effectively enforce? Because this individual is on our work time, but they're in their home. So it caused a lot of strife with this business trying to figure out what it is that they needed to do. And ultimately, they ended up having to address it in their company policies and add to their policies under the guidance of their attorney to make sure that individuals knew that while they were on work time, even if they were at home, that the expectation and the requirement was that they not partake of these substances. So these are things that we've never had to deal with before, but in the last couple of years, we've had to. We also need to consider that a lot of the major corporations are extending their brand presence onto non-business platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. However, this shift should prompt leaders to reconsider the implications of connecting with their team members on various social media channels. So I want to talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of social media connections. Those lines between one's personal and professional lives is becoming increasingly blurred by these platforms. Leaders connecting with employees on personal platforms can offer insights, though, into their lives, and it can foster a deeper understanding when it comes to things that are going on in that employee's life that they may not be so forthcoming with you on, but they're telling the world, and you're able to see that on social media. But then there's also potential risks in doing that as well. You as the leader could be perceived to be showing favoritism to certain team members if you only have some of them on social media with you and yet others are not. You're going to have people that are going to, on your team, say you're showing favoritism. This was recently cited in a study from Ohio State University, and they shared that following team members on social media could lead to negative emotions, reduced loyalty, and also decreased job satisfaction among other team members as a direct result of what they are seeing on social media and reading. And as a leader and a team member, your interaction, regardless of it being on a personal, professional level, is going to be viewed as a professional level when it deals with you and your team, regardless of if it's on your own time. Sometimes people say that you need to take it by a case by case basis or a case by case approach. I recently read an article by Maria Amato, a Korn Ferry associate, and she's a client partner there, and where she emphasized in this topic the importance of case by case approaches. She said that leaders need to recognize that what works for one employee may not work for another. So it's essential for you as a leader to weigh the potential benefits of increased understanding in what is the pros and the cons and what the risks are for the perception of favoritism that could be implied that you are showing by being on social media and socializing with other team members. Creating controlled spaces for connection on social media should really be considered. And it happened during COVID, like I said before. To mitigate the risks associated with social media, leaders should consider alternative approaches. Creating dedicated channels on platforms like Slack or Teams, it can provide a controlled and effective space for personal connection with everyone on the team. And additionally, you can schedule regular one-on-one meetings, whether in person or via video phone call. It's going to allow you as a leader to connect with your employees or your team on a personal level. And it's also going to foster a supportive environment, getting away from that favoritism implication that could be coming from individuals within your team. Now, another thing that's very concerning when you're looking at this, and as I was reading and looking into this prior to doing the podcast today, was TikTok. TikTok is a changing landscape, and it's becoming a career guiding platform for a lot of the younger workforce that we have. Now, understand that the trends among those younger workforces is paramount. Okay. In recent research, like I just said, that I just got done reading, it showed that a significant portion of the Gen Z and millennials are turning to TikTok for career advice instead of going to their leaders or their place of employment for that guidance and direction. Now, while TikTok creators offer unique perspectives on topics and questions that they receive, you as a leader of your team will need to approach this source with caution. You have to recognize that the potential for encountering misleading information from perspectives of people that are giving you their advice and their recommendations on dealing with certain situations. You have to be strategic on social media on the advice that's given. So you have to be able to distinguish between transactional and transformational career advice, and this is going to be crucial. Leaders, welcome to the Alliance Mastermind Group, your exclusive gateway to leadership excellence inspired by the visionary Napoleon Hill. In this mastermind, we believe leadership is about more than just titles. It's about realizing your dreams. So I want you to picture a close-knit community of leaders, each dedicated to helping you turn your visions into reality. You know, throughout history, mastermind groups have been the cornerstone of leadership success. Now it's your chance to become part of this legacy. The Alliance Mastermind Group is not just about support. It's about actively working together to ensure your leadership journey is extraordinary. Our comprehensive approach includes cutting-edge training sessions tailored to amplify your leadership skills. This is more than just a group. It's like having your own executive board invested in your progress and your success. Imagine having a team where each member is genuinely invested in seeing you achieve your goals. Are you ready to transform your leadership journey? Apply now using the link in the description of this video and secure your place among the chosen 10. The Alliance Mastermind Group, where leadership dreams are nurtured. Take the first step towards the future where your visions become reality. Your journey starts now. Leaders, you have to be actively engaged with the platforms like TikTok to acknowledge their positive impact, but at the same time, approaching career advice with a discerning eye. And what I mean by that is there are things on TikTok, if you haven't been on there, that are very good, that are sound in their advice. And then there's others that are very adversarial and challenging, where it's being accepted that this is the behavior that you need to approach your problems and issues with your leaders and with your company. I think being on TikTok is going to give you a good idea of what's out there. Another platform that's been really good for businesses and for teams has been LinkedIn. A lot of times, those are the profiles that, since it's more business oriented and it's leaning towards business, that we, with our teams, can be on there and encourage your teams to be on there because it shows representation of your company. It can go into things going on in your workplace, and it can also help with that interaction with our employees who are turning to social media as their outlet for learning, growing, and developing in their careers and getting guidance on things that are bothering them or things that they feel are a challenge, to see what advice is out there that can be given to them. Now, as leaders navigating this delicate balance between personal and professional connections, our strategic approach is going to be essential. You're going to have to understand the evolving dynamics of that digital workplace, like I said, and you have to foster genuine connections while mitigating the potential risks and looking at what's available and what's there that you're going to have to address. It's all about finding a balance that protects both you as a leader and also the business that you're in, but it's also going to help in creating a workplace environment that encourages authentic communication and also engagement with one another. By implementing those strategies, you as a leader can navigate those social media tightropes, and you're going to be able to do that more confidently, and you're going to be able to help foster a workplace and a culture that will thrive in a digital age that we're still going right into, and it's going to continue to develop and to grow. So one of the things that I want you to consider as we conclude with this edition of the Language of Leadership in this digital age is it's evident that the dynamics between both a leader and social media are going to be undergoing a profound transformation. Leaders stand at the intersection of opportunity and risk in a lot of different things, and it's our job to be able to balance and have to balance that desire for genuine connections with the need to protect ourselves and our teams. Now, ultimately, the language of leadership in the digital era is about fostering a workplace culture that's going to thrive on genuine connections. Now, by creating a controlled space for interaction and then embracing an alternative approach with your team, you as a leader can navigate that social media tightrope with confidence. A lot of times we need to listen to our teammates. We're going to have some of our teammates that are going to be more comfortable about approaching you about things in person, but then you're going to have others that are going to feel more comfortable in doing it on social media. It was something that I had to learn with not only my team, but also with my kids. And I know that there are leaders that I have dealt with that they have everybody on their team on their social media. One of the things that I was just talking about is being able to distinguish if that is something that you need to do. I personally do not try to have individuals on Facebook with me or anything like that. LinkedIn, I do, Um, but I think that we need to give our employees that space as well. I think it's healthy in allowing them to be able to look at other outside sources for some guidance and direction. But I also think that it's imperative that you as a leader are approachable by your team. And that's going to involve you having effective communication with them and also developing a culture within your team where they know that they can come to you with those questions that they need answers to, and that you're going to be able to respond to those questions appropriately and not be doing this in a adversarial way or in a way that would be threatening to the employee. And a lot of times that isn't going to be the case, but that could be the perception that some of our team members have. And we have to do everything that we can to try and mitigate that feeling of not being able to approach a leader and wanting to look for advice in other places. One of the ways that you can help in developing this is by having team meetings and being able to address questions there where you demonstrate as a leader that you're able to communicate effectively with them, that you're wanting to hear their feedback and you're encouraging that feedback in a constructive way and being able to identify these issues and address them in a professional way, in a way that's going to affect and it's going to be a benefit to everybody on your team. As we step into the future of leadership, it's important that we remember that the effective communication is the art in the language of leadership. We have to use it, and we have to use it both online and offline. It's going to shape the culture that we lead. And in this digital age where every post and every connection carries weight, it has to be authentic. And it's going to end up being a guiding force in the way that you communicate with your team. So I'd like to ask for you to tune in next week as we unravel some more fresh insights and perspectives. Your commitment to growth and learning is what makes this community thrive. And I want to thank you. Remember to like, share, and comment on today's episode. And I would greatly appreciate your help in sharing the podcast with other leaders. Until next week, I would greatly appreciate your time. And I ask you to stay tuned, stay engaged, and tune in as we continue this exciting journey together. Until next week, take care.